Hey there guys, it's Stephen here back with another video. Took a few days off as I mentioned in last night's video because I had some really bad news personally. I lost a relative to coronavirus, which hit me hard over the weekend, not being able to see my dad. But I've decided to get back going again and talk about football, talk about something to take my mind off things because it's difficult at the moment. Today I'm going to carry on a series that I know I started last week, the week before maybe, I can't remember when it was now, but a lot of people seem to enjoy it. Basically, it's Where Are They Now? Looking at the lost boys in Manchester City, basically. Some players that we've had and looking at how their career moved on after that. So fingers crossed you enjoyed this new strand. Fingers crossed you've watched the previous one, which you talked about the likes of Rakik and Marcus Lopez and all that kind of stuff, and John Guidetti, and you enjoyed that as well. Go watch that one if you haven't watched it as well after you finish watching this one. And fingers crossed you enjoyed this video today with a whole bunch of new names for you. I want to say thank you though beforehand to some people who are absolute heroes of mine at the moment. Some of my latest patrons. I'm going to give shout outs to Lee Eccles, Ben Smith, Thomas Pedersen, Neil Clayton, and the $20 tier, Tom Aylwine. Guys, seriously, thank you so much. This is my only source of income basically at the moment, YouTube. All my sponsors have gone, so ad revenue's down massively, so Patreon is keeping me going big time. So thank you very much to everyone who's got involved. Tom, I owe you a mug, but at the moment I can't really post them out. So anyone who's worried about tiers and stuff like that, let me know. Please message me before you have any doubts or anything like that. It's been a bit all over the place at the moment, of course, but I naturally do appreciate it. So thank you very much. Patreon.com/Esteemed Company if you want to get involved. Right, let's go on to this video and start with the first name. Nastasic, yep. Nastasic, you know, we all know a lot about him, but some people have asked, how has his career got on basically since he left Manchester City? Now, let's do a bit of background about the young lad in the first place. Well, he's not young anymore. He's 27, I think, now. But Nastasic, we did sign him with a big reputation as a 19-year-old. Basically, he came from Fiorentina. He was known as a very comfortable ball-playing centre-back with good tactical awareness. And we signed him for 24 million euros as a part exchange as well for Stefan Savic, which is one for a later video, but I think it's fair to say he's had a better career than Stasic so far. So maybe we got that one wrong. But anyway, we got this young lad. The season after we'd won the league, after the famous Aguero moment. So we got him as a way to revamp our squad. Mancini was very big on the idea of playing free at the back as well. This was a thing that he wanted, and for whatever reason, and maybe it was justified, he didn't really trust Lescott. I liked Lescott. I think he was given a hard time, but obviously that QPR moment stuck in the minds of very many people. But it was a harsh way to end. It was harsh to push him out so quickly, in my humble opinion. But anyway, he did start to cement his place in the 11, in the starting 11. He won the Player of the Month as well in November that year of his first season. He had that debut as well at Real Madrid, away at home against Real Madrid in the Champions League. A hell of a place to make your debut, and he played pretty well. You know, he did push Lescott out the side. And mainly, he was our first choice that year. I think he won a Young Player of the Year as well. I thought he was all right that season. I thought he was pretty good. I did start to have some personal reservations about him. I didn't really doubt his kind of drive or his aggression. I thought he was one of those defenders who stands up quite a lot. I know a lot of people liked him, but I thought he lacked pace and aggression. He was one of those who's very willing to let other people do the defending and never make a mistake as a result. That was my humble opinion. A lot of people disagreed with that. But I like defenders who are aggressive and front-footed. I like defenders who take responsibility. Not the ones who will stand around and not go for a play in case then he doesn't kind of... It's like constantly moving away from where the danger is. There was a lot of that with Nastasic, which used to bug me off. Anyway, if you agreed or not, he didn't really have a good second season at Manchester City. Pellegrini never really kind of trusted him, I don't think. By the way, he was injured mostly that year, but he was always then rotating with the likes of Demichelis and Lescott alongside Kompany. And after that, he barely played in the season after in 14-15. And that's when he went to Schalke in January. They finally signed him for 12 million euros, and he's kind of just been there since, really. Schalke have been up and down. Like last season, they were fighting relegation, but they're currently sixth this season. They finished second back in 17-18, which is a good year for them. Then 10th, fifth the season before. They only played one game before that due to injuries. But he's largely just kind of been in and out the first team. He's like a squad player, a pretty regular player. He's like 27 now. He hasn't had a stellar career by any stretch, but he's had a pretty good career. Now, put it this way, if he weren't Manchester City with the money that we have now, he'd probably be one of our better players. I think that's fair to say. But he hasn't really pushed on in the way that some people have pushed on. I think he was just, he's done all right. Injuries, maybe a lack of real determination to get to the very, very top, but he's had a good Bundesliga career at the top level, so fair play to him. Next on the list is Bruno Zuculini. What a weird one this was. I was quite excited by this one, really, when we signed him. And only because he was a bit random and he was known as an attacking, aggressive midfielder who liked to score goals. And that's what we actually saw when we signed him in 2014. I remember him playing in that pre-season and he was getting forward, very direct. He was scoring goals in pre-season, what I can recall. I remember one in particular, which was like Lampard-esque. And he just looked really sparky, really kind of energetic, loads of kind of aggression to his game, very direct. He looked like the kind of player, sometimes players who haven't got loads of quality can actually start to really thrive around better players. Like they need better players to start fulfilling their potential and for finding their confidence, so to speak. And during those preseason games, and I know it's only preseason, Zuculini did look very useful, very useful. He looked a handful. And he actually got an appearance in the Community Shield as well that season. We lost 3-0 against Arsenal, but he had 30 minutes run around. I think he came on for... Who was it he came on for? I cannot remember. I want to say David Silva, but I can't remember. Either way, he didn't really play that season. He got on loan sent on loan to Valencia. They played him for 45 minutes. Then he was recalled in January, immediately sent on loan to Cordoba. They were relegated. He had about 7-8 appearances. It didn't do very well, though. Unfortunately, that season, he was voted into, by some local newspapers, the La Liga worst team of the season. Great stuff, eh? Great stuff. Anyway, next season was a little bit better. He got a loan to Middlesbrough in October after really doing nothing at all. I think it was pretty good in pre-season that season as well, actually. Anyway, it was only a month initially, but they extended it because he went kind of well. Borough fans thought he was all right, a decent little player, a couple of good performances, and then he went to AEK Athens over in Greece, and that should have been a big move for him. Unfortunately, he did start pretty well, played a few games, but then he got a really serious injury. I think he went back to Manchester City to recuperate, so he couldn't really get a break. He had a second tier of Spain loan in Rayo Vallecano, barely played before being sent over to Hellas Verona in Italy to join his brother there. They signed him permanently, didn't last long of course, and he was sent to River Plate where he's basically just playing for his career. Another who's 27 now, like Nastasic, and he's a squad player for them. Zuculini's just found his level, I guess. One of those players where I think he could have been a lot better than he was, but it never really happened for whatever reason. He's having a decent career though, so fair play to him. Next is Brandon Barker. Honestly, now this was a guy I was very excited by at one point. I still maintain he's possibly, maybe the most talented player, definitely one of the most talented players I've seen for the academy myself personally. Now people don't believe that, but honestly, he was doing things that Sancho was doing every single week for the academy as well. He was doing things that Brahim Diaz was doing and Foden. He was so good. He was devastatingly good. He was pinging it in for 30 yards. He was beating 4 people and firing it into the bottom corner. He was quality for the EDS. Him linking up with Angelino. That team, that EDS team, had so much ability. There's another one of his EDS partners in this video as well, coming up later. But Brandon Barker... he never really got the chances I think he deserved. Seriously, I think he deserved well more chances in the first team. He should have got given a go. If he was at United with someone like Ferguson, I guarantee they would have given him some chances. He played Chadwick for crying out loud. But it didn't happen for whatever reason. He went on loan to Rotherham. He scored a screamer in his first game, but then barely got a game after that. There were some reports that he was a little bit dispirited in training. He did get a better loan the season after. He went to NEC Breda over in the second tier of Dutch football, but he was pretty good, He was a regular. He played like 20-odd games. He scored a few goals, set up quite a few as well. They kind of liked him. He started to show that ability that we knew he had. He suited that kind of football. But weirdly, he's not really settled in over back in the UK. After that, he went to Hibs. And once again, he was pretty good at Hibs in the SPL for Hibernian. He scored a couple of goals, sometimes very good, sometimes pretty poor. I remember reading a few Hibernian fan forums and they were like, this guy can be magic or absolutely nothing. Anyway, his form in the SPL got him a loads of Preston, North End in the Championship, but nothing happened. Once again, just a squad player, like 15 appearances or something like that, before finally he left Manchester City permanently and he went to Rangers. And Rangers fans are kind of underwhelmed. He's not really done much. He's barely broken into team. He's had a few injuries. He's had a few injuries throughout his career, really. And he's another one of wasted potential. He's 23 now. He reminds me of so many young players who don't quite have the drive or whatever reason or the focus. And there was a lot of people who have always said that Brandon Barker, he looks a little bit moody. Is it just his personality? But either way, he's not really had the focus to match his talent. On his day, he just does some magic things, even at any level. Genuinely, he can beat people. He's got blinding pace. He can score with either foot. But it's weird. He should be dominating the SPL given his natural talent, but it's not happening for him. Injuries, maybe. Motivation, who knows? But unfortunately, he's not there. On to Enes Ünal. Now, this guy was, of course, just a kind of CFG kind of signing. We signed him in 2015 in July. Pellegrini was the coach back then, of course. It had nothing to do with him really, but he came with a big rep. He was a CFG signing, obviously, but he did have the pre-season with City that year. And he was the kind of guy who was scoring like 60 goals in about 30 games for the youth team or something like that over in Turkey. Either way, he was really highly rated as a proper old school number 9. That's what people said about him. We signed him when he was like 17, 18 or something like that. Anyway, we signed him. We sent him on loan to Genk over in Belgium for 2 years. And unsurprisingly, that was another failed loan. Yeah, Manchester City didn't get what they wanted out of that loan. He was recalled almost immediately. Basically, they didn't play him at all. Then he was sent on loan again, this time to NEC. This was in January after the failed Genk loan. 2 years, man. They didn't. City with loans are so frustrating. They're really bad at this. But anyway, back to Enes Ünal. He did very well at NEC Breda. He got a hat-trick there and scored 18-14 games, which is pretty good, you know. That got him attention over in the actual Eredivisie, because this was the second tier of Dutch football. This attention got him a loan move to 20. And it was there where he started to kind of show some real promise. He scored 19 goals that season in 33 games. And a lot of it came in like bunches. He's one of those kind of goal scorers who scored loads at once and then nothing for ages. But either way, it was a good return, just under 20 goals. And he joined Villarreal. We sold him. We got a profit on him, I guess. We sold him for 12 million and to the La Liga side. He scored some that year. He had a couple of decent spells. I think he ended up with 5 goals in 31 games that season. And he also joined Levante on loan. He only got 1 in 7. It didn't really happen. Ever since then, he's been at loan at Real Valladolid in La Liga. So he's playing at a good level. Real Valladolid, he scored 6 goals this season, 6 last. But he's kind of got a pretty average goal scoring rate, but he's very much been a reserve player for them. But either way, he's still young. He doesn't turn 23 until May, so he's got plenty of time on his side. Fingers crossed, you know, for him. He seems like a nice lad from what I recall. Fingers crossed he starts to score more. Next up is Denzel Boadu, a player that I really, really liked. He was a part of that team with Thierry Ambrose and Angelino and Bersant Celina and Brandon Barker. And to me, he was possibly my favourite player from that team. Boadu was quality. He was fast. He ran at people for fun. He was goal scorer. He had great technique and dribbling. He was such an intelligent number 10. I really liked him, but this guy had absolutely awful luck with injuries. Seriously, such bad luck. He was such a starlet at youth international level and for Manchester City that I think he could have gone maybe furthest. His luck was just genuinely awful. He had injury after injury after injury. Seriously, at one point he had like an operation and he got a really rare infection on that operation on his ankle, which left him out for basically 2 years. At like 2 years of football, which is terrible. Now, if you're a fast, skillful player, it requires like agility, that kind of injury is going to set you back. And when he came back, he wasn't quite the same. He wasn't quite as nimble, obviously. He didn't quite have that same turn of pace. And he looked timid, as you would do after that many injuries. It was awful for him, genuinely awful. Now, he did get a little bit of an opportunity away. He joined Borussia Dortmund's second team. A lot of people said he kind of went over as part of the Sancho deal to kind of keep Sancho happy, which is kind of crass, but I've seen that before. He went over as one of Sancho's mates while Sancho played in the first team, of course. Boadu played for the reserves. He played 29 games for them, and he was around the first team squad a couple of times. I'm not sure it's just a token gesture, but he was there. But it never really happened for him out there. Eventually, he had a few trials in, of what I recall. He was trialled at Reading, and he did sign with Crawley Town, who what tier were they in? This was in September this year. They were down in League Two, I think. Either way, he signed for them. And it's not really happened, unfortunately. I think he's left the club. He left the club in January. And I think now, but what I can tell, he's dropped out of football. I think he's working for JD Sports, actually, according to his Instagram. And he's reading lots of books on investment and all that kind of stuff, according to his Instagram stories. He's had a really, really bad time, unfortunately. A lot of footballers have terrible luck and then they struggle to get back into the game. With his talent, it's almost astonishing that he's fallen out of the game entirely. But it can happen with bad injuries, unfortunately. Fingers crossed he makes a good career for himself. He seems an intelligent, likeable lad from what I can remember from interviews, and fingers crossed he gets a little bit of luck. But unfortunately, he's moved on. And finally, Abdul Razak. Now, this is one for the ages. When you search nomadic career or journeyman, Abdul Razak should appear because this guy has had a crazy career now. We got him back in 2010, I think, maybe. We got him from Crystal Palace. I think they lost him from their academy. City signed him up. And I think Mancini kind of rated him a little bit. Now, he didn't really play for months for the EDS at one point. Then he made his first appearance in when was it? I think it was like January. Oh, no, sorry, early February for the EDS. So his first EDS appearance He was in a Manchester Senior Cup game against Bury, and Mancini must have liked what he said because he immediately put him on the bench for the Premier League game. And he made his debut. He came on for David Silva late on as City beat West Brom 5-0 in February 2011. I think Mancini must have thought this very talented, direct, energetic midfielder might have had a bit of a future. No more appearances that season, but he did make his first start in the famous 2011-2012 season. In the League Cup, he played 86 minutes in the League Cup before being replaced by Lucas Scapuzzi. Do you remember him? That's another one from one of these videos one day. He had one substitute appearance in that very famous season. And then after that, his loan started. The season after, he went on so many loans. Initially, he went on loan to Portsmouth and Brighton that season as well. I can't remember which it was, but he didn't really play much. He played 3 games for Portsmouth and 6 for Brighton. But I remember one of the fans, it might have been Brighton, said, this guy is ridiculously talented. Like, he had so much ability, loads of pace, loads of tenacity. Just a really energetic midfielder, but for whatever reason, he couldn't really maintain it. Then he went to Ansi in Russia. Ansi Makachkaka, I can't really pronounce that. That got him a permanent move to them. Then next season he was at West Ham. Then after that he spent a bit of time for OFI Crete in Greece, and then he went to Doncaster Rovers and played a bit. Then he went to AFC United. I don't even know where they are. That's a Swedish football team. And then he went to Gothenburg, and then now finally he's at IK Sirius, another Swedish team. So basically, he's been bouncing around in Sweden for a while. He's not had really any appearances for Ivory Coast for some time now, since 2013, I reckon. He's just kind of got a decent career over in Sweden as a bit of a journeyman player, but a very talented player on his day, a lot of pace. I don't know what he's like now, but I remember being quite excited by him too, but it's not happened for whatever reason. Some discipline problems, I remember. He got a red card at one point. I think he got sent off a couple of times. But yeah, that's where he's at now. He's just kind of milling about in Sweden, so he's still playing at a decent level, I guess. We'll see if he makes it anywhere else, but he's 27 now, so I think he's probably fine with his level. Anyway, guys, that is just the videos for today. That is just the players for today. I'll do some more if you want. Let me know in the comments what other players you want to go and see. Go and check out that video with the likes of Rakik, Lopez, Guidetti, and many more. And let me know if you enjoyed this kind of video. Thank you, as ever, to all these guys here, my latest patrons. Seriously, all these patrons here keep this channel going at the moment. Genuinely, this is my job. Thank you very much. You supported me through this very difficult time. Hope you're all keeping safe, well, and healthy, and staying indoors when you can, washing your hands and looking after your loved ones. And I'll see you later on today for a live stream, 8 o'clock. I'm going to try to do a live stream every day at 8 in a bit.